9 o'clock, but I figured I would just go ahead and jump on now. So, good morning. If you're new here, I'm Jen, and I will just begin do kind of a random talk today. Um, just kind of starting my day. So, just wanted to say hello to everyone that's out there and do a little bit of Bible study today, do a little bit of just chit chat about what's going on in the world today. Um, I'm sure Huxley, my dog, will show up at some point. So just want to check in with everyone. Trying this early morning um, to see who's on and who's not. I know it's early Saturday morning. So um, anyway, so what's going on this morning? Got up early this morning. Was working on some videos. Got some ASMR that's gonna come out later. Some um, I got a Trucking Tuesday recorded this morning, and I'll be working on some more videos this afternoon, hopefully, to get some stuff out for you guys. So I'm super excited. ASMR videos have really kind of took off on their own, which is great. I was hoping that that would do well with the community. Um, there's a lot of competition with ASMR. There's a lot of really good people that do ASMR videos that are out there, and there's a lot of really good people um, that's all they do is ASMR. So for me, it's kind of a fun little side project. um, but it's been very enjoyable. But what I'm super excited about is the Trucking Tuesday videos. I've actually gotten some really great feedback from the first two episodes. I've heard from Good Morning, Bud Files. How are you? Thanks for dropping in. Good morning. Glad I'm not the only one who's up bright and early. um, but so Trucking Tuesday, I've gotten some really good feedback. I've heard some from several people who drive or have drivers in their families. So I'm super stoked about that. Um, I'm also super stoked about people who just have experience. Good morning, Aquacool. Good morning. How are you? With working with drivers, whether you work in the office like I do, or you work on like a receiver end or a shipping end. So if you are in the industry of trucking or know someone who's in the industry who would love to share their story, I would love to talk to you about that. I've really enjoyed that series. I've got probably at least 30 more episodes that I've already kind of sketched out topics. But there's definitely a lot more that can be sketched out in terms of just topics about trucking. There's so much to talk about. I'm hoping to talk to some people that are current drivers or have driven, people who are family members. I know I've had a couple people tell me that their parents have driven and they've gotten to ride along with them. So I'm hoping to hear from those people. So if you know somebody, let me know. I would love to talk to them. So anyway, let's see what else is going on. Um, I definitely am hoping soon um, to have some different ASMR stuff coming up. I've been doing some role plays. I've been doing some different kinds of triggers. So I'm hoping that people have enjoyed those. If you like ASMR and that's something that you're into, let me know. I'm gonna do some more role plays with um, like the kind of dermatologist visits, looking at different kinds of doctor role plays, looking at friend role plays. I recorded one this morning, like a best friend after you've had a really bad day. Um, just some kind of personal videos because I think those are the ones that I enjoy the most. But everybody has their own thing that they like or don't like with ASMR. So, um, Butterfiles, I don't know if you're still here or not, but I know you had pointed out the other night YouTube was doing something very strange, and it still is. Um, and those of us who content create, it's super frustrating when YouTube's algorithm like just changes all of a sudden, or it does weird stuff. And I know like the the metrics for the videos, so like how many views you're getting, how many hours you're getting, It's been very strangely. I don't know if it's like just behind, but like I'll have a video and it doesn't look like it's doing well at all, and then all of a sudden it'll jump. So it's been very strange. And it's kind of just it makes tracking what you do hard sometimes, especially if you're somebody like me that like constantly is on there checking, oh, how's my video doing, what's going on. So sometimes that's frustrating, but um I will just say that I'm getting really close to the magic 4,000. um so thank you everybody who has helped with that. It'll be really amazing to get there, because this has been an interesting journey to say the least. I had no idea how much, when I started this channel, I had no idea how much work having a YouTube channel was. I was very ignorant to that. And yeah, I'm grateful that I have a spouse that is smart about these kind of things and is willing to do the research about these kind of things and been very helpful, because I had no idea all the metrics that YouTube tracks and all of the metrics that are helpful when it comes to your channel, but it can be very overwhelming. So yeah, that's exciting to dig into when you get time. So I thought I would do today's devotional really quick. Today is the 20th of April, at least last time I checked. Yeah, it's the 20th. So today's verse comes from 1 Chronicles 22:13. Then you will prosper if you take care to fulfill the statuses and judgment with which the Lord charged Moses concerning Israel. Be strong and of good courage. Do not fear being dismayed. So, the title of today's devotional is Defeat is Impossible. And that's kind of an interesting title to me because I think there's been times when I've felt really defeated, and those are the times that I think I've done some of my best work. Is when I feel like I'm just, you know, everybody thinks that I'm not going to accomplish something or I'm not good enough to do something. I think that's when I've really dug in the most. And I think trucking is a really good example of that. It's still a very male dominated industry in all aspects of the industry, in the office, as drivers and people that work in shippers and receivers. Trucking has traditionally been a very male dominated industry, and it still is. There's a lot more women in it now, um, but a lot of the businesses involved in trucking, offices, shipping, receiving, kind of have a old boys club feel to them still. And so you come into a place and you feel like you're you're at the bottom before you even get a chance to start. And so I think that's interesting in terms of today's devotional topic about defeat is impossible. Sometimes you feel like you're defeated, and then you wind up rising above it. So it says, Lord, what is it like to win every single time? To know going into the contest that you cannot lose. I have to admit something. I am afraid of defeat. I'm afraid of looking weak, of getting hurt, of not knowing where to go afterwards. Father, give me your assurance that defeat is impossible and I have nothing to fear. Even if things don't work out the way I want, I'll have avoided all the wasted hours of worry and doubt and my confidence, your confidence, will reassure me that what seems like loss is actually part of the plan, that my victory is still ahead. I am looking for your assurance, Lord. The fear is getting heavy and I'm ready to set it aside. So I think, good morning. Um, I'm probably going to mess up your YouTube name, but Liminal. Good morning. Hello. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. So I think defeat's kind of an interesting topic just because we as humans don't like being defeated. We don't like being put in our place. We don't like being told that we don't belong or that we're not good enough, or that we can't do something. And sometimes I think being told that pushes us to be better. And I think when we step back and realize that in terms of faith, that God is always behind us and He's not going to let us be so defeated that we can't overcome from it. I think it's good, and it's good to realize that you can rely on God in all kinds of situations. And even if it doesn't work out the way that we want it to, it probably wasn't meant to work out that way in the first place. We are so small in the whole vastness that God has, and we're so small in the fact of God's big picture. We sometimes forget that what we're looking at right now, seems so big to us, but isn't necessarily as big as we think it is. We might feel like the test that we have to take at school is going to make or break us. We might feel like the interview that we go sit down to either get promoted for a position in a company we're already in or a job interview, we might feel that that makes or breaks us. But in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not that big of a deal. And we just have to accept the fact that things happen and we can move on, and we can do bigger and better things when the right time comes. So just because you feel like you're defeated right now, doesn't mean that you're broken forever and that it's not going to be worthwhile for you. So I wanted to do a little bit of Bible study this morning, kind of actually in relationship to the verse that was in the devotional today, and that was to talk about my favorite verse, which is, well, one of my favorite. I have a lot of favorites, but one that's really stuck with me a lot, and it's actually from the Old Testament. It's from Jeremiah, and I up until the last couple of years spent a lot of time avoiding time in the Old Testament just because some of it for a while was very difficult for me to read. There's a lot of history in the Old Testament. There's a lot of genealogy in the Old Testament, and sometimes that's what pushes people off from reading it, because you get in some of these books and it talks about, okay, this person was father to this person, and then they were father to this person, they were father to this person, they were father to this person, and it becomes sometimes kind of wordy and kind of like overwhelming. But you have to know that history, because that history actually comes back when you learn about some of the history that's in the Old Testament. Then you learn the genealogy of Jesus Christ and where he fits in terms of the line of people that he was in. So, but anyway, I spent a long time kind of avoiding a lot of the Old Testament for a long time, just because it was clunky and it was difficult for me to get into. And then I realized that there's so much good in the Old Testament, and not just in Psalms and Proverbs, but the Old Testament as a whole. And part of that came was when I found a Bible version that I was comfortable reading. And I think there's lots and lots of reasons to use different versions of the Bible, but the biggest is if you're comfortable reading it. If it's something that you're actually going to pick up and read, if you're not comfortable using King James, then you don't have to use it. If that's what your church uses, that's great. But if you're going to spend time in God's Word in your own personal time, and you're going to feel like you're just fighting this uphill battle, then find a version of it that you're comfortable using at home. I am currently using the New International Version, and I also use the New Living Translation, and those are the two that I'm most comfortable with. The language is comfortable for me. They're good, and they're proven good translations. And I also like to use study Bibles that have a lot of annotations, and they will connect you with the history. They'll connect you to the other books in the Bible. They'll connect you to different topics, and just things like that. So, but anyway, so the verse that I wanted to talk about today is Jeremiah 29:11, and I have it on my computer screen. Let me read it off really quick. But for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And this is a super, super, super powerful verse. Um, we as humans like to plan a lot. I mean, some people plan out everything. If you're a list maker like me, or you're somebody that writes, a to-do list, you have a planner, you have an app on your phone, and you like to plan everything out. There's some very strong type A personalities that have every minute of their day planned out, from what time they get up, they have their coffee, they have breakfast, they have to be in the shower by 6:15, they have to be out of the shower by 6:35, they have to be, whatever. There's some people that plan to the extreme, and there's some people that just kind of go, oh, whatever happens, happens. I'm going to have to be at work at 8 o'clock, so as long as I'm there by 8 o'clock, well, okay. But I think we try to have plans for ourselves, and we try to be so in control of our own lives that we forget that there's more to it than that. We forget that what our plans are and what our goals are and what our expectations aren't necessarily the expectations and the plans that God has for us. And I'm not saying that you can't not have plans for yourself. You should. You should have goals. You should have aspirations. You should have desires. You should say, if you're somebody that's still in school, so let's say you're in middle school or high school when you start thinking about college, and what you want to do with your life. When we're little kids, um, most of us have very general ideas about what we want to do when we grow up, and those change, and those change over time. I've changed jobs multiple times to figure out what I want to do with my life as an adult. I did retail for 20 years. Now I've been in trucking for 5 years, but I've done different jobs in both of them. When I started out in retail, um, actually, I guess I've been in retail longer than that. My very first job was at a grocery store bagging groceries. That wasn't what I wanted to do my whole life. Um, but it was my first job and I was super excited about it. And then I worked at an arts and crafts store and realized that was a terrible thing to do because I spent all my money. Um, I worked in fast food. I did Walmart for almost 20 years. And I did lots and lots of different jobs in Walmart. I was anything from a stock person to a department manager, which they don't have that job anymore, to an overnight stocker, to an assistant manager, to a co-manager. And I had goals for each one of those. I've gone to school to get my undergrad degree is actually in English with minors in history, and a couple other weird topics, but basically in general. So I kind of went all over the place with my undergrad, and then I have a master's in, I have my MBA. And my goal with my MBA actually was that I was going to eventually do something big in retail, and that never happened. And I'm actually glad that it didn't. I'm glad I got out of retail. But that's the whole thing. Like um, Stitch Forever, this thing is, you're not being mean by asking what this is about. This is a faith based channel, and welcome. I'm glad you're here. And today I was just doing a little discussion about Jeremiah 29:11 and the plans that God has for us. So, welcome. If you're interested, please stay. So, but what my plans were when I was in retail are very different than what my plans are now. What my plans were 5 years ago are very different than what my plans are now. And that's the interesting thing is I think when we try to over plan our lives, we make a lot of mistakes because we get frustrated, we get sad when our plans don't work out. And when we stop and we take a step back and we go, okay, so what am I supposed to do with my life? And we all have that point in our lives where we say, well, what am I supposed to do? I thought I was going to be a teacher. I thought I was going to be a scientist. I thought I was going to finish school. I thought I was going to do all these things, and it didn't work out. So now what? Well, now what do I do? And at some point, almost all of us turn to religion or faith to try to figure things out. It's kind of like the same thing that, sorry, my dogs, you guys are going to hear the dogs. They're very excited. But we all kind of turn to bigger than us to get the answers that we seek. Um, my spouse always likes to say that when, hi, hello, Nana, nice to see you. So glad you're here. Thank you. Um, my spouse likes to say a lot of people turn to religion and faith when they get older because you realize that there's less and less time in your life left. But I think we go when we're questioning what we're supposed to do, or we're at a point in our lives where we're stuck. We go to God and say, what am I supposed to do now? And when I found this verse from Jeremiah, I was like, you know what? That makes sense that God does have plans for us. He didn't just create us, throw us here, and say, here you go, figure it out. He does give us free reign to do what we want and make decisions, but He has a reason and a purpose for all of this. And maybe you're not going to realize what that purpose is or what that expectation is, until you're 10, 20, 30 years down the road. But either way, you're going to figure out at some point that it's not just about you. It's not just about what you want, what you think is right. It can be about what someone else wants. But ultimately, it's what God wants. God has plans for you. He gives each and every one of us gifts. Some people are really great singers. Some people are really great actresses. Some people are really great at teaching, and other people are really great at um, discovery and science and math and things that absolutely terrify me because I'm not good at those. But there's, people are good at medicine and doctors and caring for people. We've all been given gifts. It's just a matter of how we choose to use them and how we choose to um, take those gifts that have been given to us and do good with them. I think and I think that's why we get frustrated is sometimes we think, oh, well, yeah, I'm really good at singing, but how many people out there are really good at singing? Not everybody's going to be Taylor Swift. Not everybody is going to be, um, the best person out there singing. No, they're not. But if you have the gift, you should be able to share that gift with people. And I don't believe that people are just given one gift or one talent. I think we all have lots of them, and maybe somebody will disagree with me on that, and that's fine. But I think we have lots of things that we're good at. Because, for example, like teaching, my mom was a teacher, so I have experience with that. You have to be good at communicating. You have to be good at getting people's attention and keeping people's attention. You have to be good at making people be able to relate to you and understand you. My mom taught English to people that didn't speak English, and she didn't speak their language. So you have to be good at all of these things if you're going to be a teacher. You have to be engaging. You have to be, especially if you're a teacher of young people, you have to be a counselor of some sorts, kind of, because the kids are going to trust you and they're going to come to you and they're going to ask you questions. You have to be somebody that is flexible in terms of lesson plans and time and dedication. Teachers give up a lot of their personal time to their students. Sometimes they plan on being there at an hour before school and maybe an hour after, and they wind up being there 2 hours after because they have students that need help. They have students that come and talk to them. They have parents that they have to talk to. So there's lots of different aspects of being a teacher and different gifts that you have to have of being a teacher, a communicator, a listener, a compassionate person. Someone who's a doctor, they have to have the intelligence, they have to have the ability to think on their feet, they have to be creative, because if someone comes to you and says, I'm sick, and you ask them what their symptoms are, you have to be able to put all of those symptoms with what you know and be able to make a diagnosis. So you have to be able to look at the bigger picture. In my job with trucking, even my first job in trucking, when I was a driver manager, before I left the company that I was at, the first carrier I was at, I had most of the time between 40 and 50 drivers that I was completely responsible for, that I handled their loads, their miles, their home time, repairs, breakdowns, their hours of service. I had all of these things that I had to manage at the same time, and I had to make sure that my drivers were okay. That they were mentally and physically safe to drive, that they were in a good place. If they were having a bad day, I would take time to talk to them, find out what's going on. Maybe there's something going on at home and they need to get home sooner than they usually go home. Maybe they need to spend time away from home because they maybe they're used to going home once a week, and they've been home a couple extra days, and it changed how things were at home. So maybe they need to spend a little bit of extra time out. So it just depends. Um, it just depends on what's going on in their lives. So that's just it. There's multiple pieces, there's multiple facets to every person, and multiple talents and gifts that I believe we have all been given. And when you take those gifts and you utilize them for good and you do the things that you're supposed to do, I think the more you do that, the more you tap into what you've been given and you realize that you're successful at it, the more you're tapping into the path that God has laid out for you. And I think it's a give and take in terms of what we do to figure out what we're supposed to do, the plans that God has made for us, that we're told about in Jeremiah 29:11. He's made plans to help us, not harm us. And, there's nothing that, at least not that I've ever heard of, there's not some big banner that drops out of the sky that says, you're supposed to do this. I don't think there's a big banner that drops out of the sky. Yes, exactly, Stitch Forever. It's like everybody's different and we all have to do our own thing. And I think we all have to figure it out on our own what we're supposed to do. Whether it's we're supposed to be a teacher, we're supposed to be a police officer, we're supposed to be a scientist, but you have to figure out what those gifts are, because nobody's going to hold up a big sign and say you need to do this. Now, I know in certain societies people will tell you, you know, you need to do certain things, you need to do certain jobs, or take a certain path, or because your parent was this you should do this too. But I think just because you have a job that does something doesn't mean that you can't have a passion that gets you to use those God-given talents. You know, I'm in trucking. I don't drive a truck, but I think I'm a really good people person, which is why I do the job that I do, because I can listen to drivers, I can help them solve problems, I can help them figure out what they need to do, how to communicate with their dispatcher. Um, you know, and then I express my faith over YouTube. And that was something that I genuinely felt called to do. That I am someone that has struggled with faith for years and years and years, and had an on again, off again relationship with God. And I realized that there's lots of people that have been in that same set of circumstances where they've had an on again, off again relationship with God for numerous different reasons. And they feel bad about it. They feel guilty about it. And you shouldn't. You shouldn't feel guilty because you're human, because you messed up, because you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. What happens is what happens that matters is how you come back from those mistakes, how you apologize to God if you stepped away from God, or if you said something bad to God, or if you said something that was not appropriate. Um, you know, how you behave afterwards, how you fix the mistakes that you made. That's what ultimately matters. So the plans that God gave us, we don't know them up front. You know, there's no magical formula that's going to tell you that. What does tell you about it is discovering what you're good at and asking God to tell you, to reveal to you the path. He's not going to just lay it out for you. It's not going to pop down and lay on your desk and tell you today you need to go to school and be a teacher, or today you need to go back to school to be a lawyer, or whatever. It's gonna reveal itself to you, but it has to be an ongoing thing. You can't just expect it to show up one day and that's it, and it's going to give you all the answers to life. You know, you don't crack open the fortune cookie and it says you should go back to school to be an attorney. No, it doesn't work that way. And I think that's what hi Huxley, my dog Huxley has walked in. Hi Huxley, come here. You want to say hi to people? Yeah. Okay, come here. Come here. Oh, oh, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You want to say hi? You want to say hi? Yeah. This is Huxley, guys. He likes to come on the lives. Yeah. Yeah. He likes to say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Yeah. Okay. You ready to get down? Yeah. You ready to get down? Okay. I love you too. Yeah. Okay. Careful. Oh, yes, you're a good boy. Sorry, he likes to participate. Oh, thank you. He's a rescue dog. He's a sweetheart. But so God's not gonna just, drop this big banner down out of the sky and tell you what to do. God is going to reveal what you need to do, but you have to be willing to listen. You have to be willing to focus on what you know and build on that. If you find that you're somebody that people are comfortable coming to and talking to you about their problems, then maybe you need to be in an industry where you can help people that way. Maybe you could be in an industry where you do counseling, or what kind of dog breed is he? He's a mix. He's basically a Chiweenie. So he's part wiener dog, part Chihuahua. So he's got a lot of other dog mixed in him too, but those are the two big ones. He's a sweet boy though. He really is. But so you might want to put yourself in an industry where you are helping people solve problems, and that could even be a teacher. That could be like me, where I'm in trucking and I listen to the guys. I let them vent to me when they're having a bad day. Um, if you're somebody that's exceptionally good at numbers, maybe getting in the hard sciences is a good way to use those talents. Maybe you're going to help somebody do financial planning. Maybe you're going to help somebody that struggles with tax issues. There's all different kinds of things. So you have to, your talents are going to be revealed to you as you learn, as you get educated, as you grow as a person. And then when you stop and you go, oh, you know what, maybe that's the path I'm supposed to take to help people. Because ultimately I think what all of us want to do is help people, not just help ourselves. I genuinely don't believe that everyone is so selfish that they only want to help themselves. um, Maybe you're not somebody that wants to help the whole world, but I think we all want to help people feel better, because people have helped us feel better in our own lives. And when we can do that for others, it's really rewarding. It just depends on what you're good at. For example, my dad was an attorney and he helped people that way. Now he's retired and he helps people. He's on their care committee at church. So if someone is sick in the hospital, or sick that um, they're not well enough to come to church, so he'll go and visit them after church. He'll go and talk to them about what's going on. He'll um, go grocery shopping for them. He'll do errands for them that they can't do for themselves right now. And that's the way he helps people. My dad's very much someone that people feel very comfortable talking to. My mom is very passionate about animals and animal preservation of wild animal species. So she volunteers at Missouri Wildlife Rescue Center, and that's her passion. She's also very passionate about the natural environment, so they've redone their entire yard to have only Missouri native plants, and plants that are good for bees to be attracted to help the bee population, and the monarch butterflies so that can help the monarch butterflies when they travel through Missouri. So those are the things that she's passionate about. And for her career, she was a counselor. Well, first she was a teacher, and then she was a counselor. And I believe she was called to do both of those things because she was exceptionally good at them. And she helped a lot of people when she was doing them. Her last job, she worked at a school for the blind, and some of those kids just lost sight, and some of those kids had other problems as well. And she worked with them. She made them feel comfortable. She helped kids get into college. She helped kids do everything that they were able to do, and help them with the issues that come when you're, quote, not normal like everyone else. And so those are things that she's called to do. Um, my spouse works with computers. I'm not smart enough to do what my spouse does. That's not the kind of thinking that I do. But my spouse is really good at training people and breaking down what needs to be when you bring out new software, or you get new software installed and a new setup. That's what my spouse loves to do, is training and helping people. And that's something that I admire, because I couldn't do that. I don't think like that. Um, so, I think you have to figure out what you're good at, and then that kind of puts you on the right track. And then you're going to realize, oh, I should be doing this, and I'm good at it. That's when I got into this whole YouTube thing. My goal was to make people feel comfortable about whatever stage they're in their faith. If there's someone that's a new believer, to make them feel welcome. If there's someone that maybe they've changed faiths, um, maybe they were of a different faith than Christian. They just came to Christianity. I want to make those people feel welcome. If there's someone like me that has gone through a phase of their life where they stopped believing, or that they were angry at God, or they were frustrated with God, and then they have to deal with the guilt and shame that comes with the fact that, or at least in my case, I had a lot of guilt and shame that when I came back to God, I felt bad for leaving. So I started this channel to make people feel comfortable, because I know that the God that I serve, the loving, living God that I serve, is forgiving, is understanding, and doesn't hold a grudge. He doesn't. Every time I have left God and come back, I've never felt like God treated me any differently. I never felt any differently when I started going back to God, because God loves me for who I am. And when I ask for forgiveness, God forgives me, and we move on. It's not like people that say, well, I'll forgive you, but I'm never going to forget. And it's not that God forgets, God knows everything. But at the same time, God doesn't hold a grudge like we do as people. God doesn't say, well, I'll forgive you, but I'm never going to forget what you did. No, it's not like that. And so that was one of the reasons why I started this channel. And I've learned that I have other ways of making people feel comfortable. I've gotten into ASMR, and people say that what I do with my ASMR has been very peaceful for them. I've met a couple of people that really struggle with sleep for health reasons, and they have said that my ASMR videos help them sleep, and that's a huge compliment for me. But it's also made me feel like that's another way that I can help people, and these are people that have come to my channel because they like the faith aspect of it, but that I'm able to give them something more. So it's just like when I got into trucking and I was a driver manager, and then I realized I like the in the moment aspect of trucking, like what happens when you break down, what happens when you're running late, what happens when all the crazy things that happen on the road and all the frustration that comes along with that. I like being in that moment. I like that I feel like I'm that voice that can be in control and confident to help that driver overcome whatever they're dealing with. So that's been the reason why I switched to doing my after hours position, where I have, we're the only person on the other end of that line, whether you break down, whether you need your load updated, you need a new load. Um, I like being that person that can help you. And so I feel like that's something that my calling with helping people has evolved into. So I think that's the beautiful thing about God is he gives us these talents, and we're able to use them in so many different ways. Um, there's a lady that I'm very close to that I've met as a content creator on here, and she does digital art, which I'm absolutely fascinated with. I I use the computer enough to do what I need to do, and I've had to learn a lot in terms of video editing and things like that to make this channel happen, and that's been a really uphill battle for me because I'm not that way in terms of my thinking. And well, thank you, Stitch. I appreciate you for subscribing. Have a great day. Thank you so much for stopping by. That means a lot. I hope you have a blessed day, and we will definitely talk again soon. Thank you. Anybody else who's just come in, welcome. Feel free to say hello. And I greatly appreciate you being here. But like I was saying, I think that's a really great thing about God is he gives us talents that can be used in so many ways. And I was talking about the lady that does digital art. So she does digital art, and she does usually she does 2 or 3 videos a week. And one is just like a fun video that she just shares her passion for digital art with the world, and she does these beautiful designs. I love when she does like these mosaics, and then she'll have like an element that spins and moves around the whole screen, and it looks really cool. And then on Sundays, usually Sunday morning, she drops a video that is faith based, and she's recently added her own voice to the videos to share her passion for God, and I think that's awesome. And she does a cool. When do I do my live? Usually, this is the first time I've done a morning one. I work nights, so it's kind of weird. Sometimes I do them at night. Sometimes I do them. Like I said, this is the first time I've done it in the morning. Sometimes I do it in the early afternoon, but I will definitely let you guys know. I will start posting when I'm going to do live. So I'm Central Time in the USA, so it is about 10 after 9 here. So, but normally I do them in the evenings. But feel free to drop in anytime, definitely. And thank you again for subscribing. I appreciate it. So there's just different ways. Thank you. You two have a wonderful, blessed day. Get some rest when you get a chance today too. It's early. Early morning people who are up early. You guys impress me. I'm not a morning person. So if I'm already up, it's okay. But I'm not a morning person. So, anyway, I think we all have different ways that we share our gifts and our talents, and they evolve. And I think that's what's so amazing about God is that he gives us the ability to grow as people, and he gives us the ability to figure things out. Because like I said, there's no magic banner that drops down from the sky that says you should do this, that, and the other thing. But there is the opportunity that God will reveal to you what his plans are for you. And I think just like we change, I think God allows our plans to change too. He may have an overview. We don't know what God's plans are. We can never, we don't know what God knows. We don't know what God what God has the bigger picture, because his timeline is so different from ours. But I think just the fact that we get to know God by knowing ourselves, and we get to know God's, at least some of God's bigger picture, by figuring out our own lives. And that's just so incredible. But we always should know that whatever plans God does have for us are not ever meant to harm us. We may put ourselves in bad places because we make the decisions that we make. We do things that, um, we might take one path and then realize that this was a huge mistake, and there might be some negativity from taking one path or another, but that's an opportunity for us to grow, and us to learn. When I was in retail at first, I absolutely loved it. I loved being able to help people. I loved what I did. I loved the job, and that changed. When I got into management, I was very pro associate. I loved my people that worked for me, and I wanted to do what was best for them. Unfortunately, the company that I worked for didn't exactly feel the same way. They saw people kind of as cogs in a machine, and that's not how I saw people. I saw people as individuals. So, you know, it, you live and you learn it, but you have to keep going, and you have to keep trying, and things will become revealed to you as you go through them, because God's not going to leave you in the dark. God's not going to just say, "Oh, well, if you figure it out, you figure it out, but if you don't figure it out, well, too bad." No, God's not going to leave you in the dark. God's going to put you in a good place where you will see progress, you will see things revealed to you, and you're going to grow. You're going to be a better person because of what's going on, and you're going to find your place in the world because God has laid down plans for you, and eventually you will get to the right path. You will get to the place where you're supposed to be. And maybe it's not your career, maybe it's not your job, but it's your passion project. Um, it's something that you do on the side. Maybe you volunteer. Maybe you have a YouTube channel. Maybe you go and volunteer time with people. And maybe you do whatever your gift is as a side job. But either way, you are going to find a place to do the things that God has called you to do. You're going to find a place to express the talents that you have been given, and you're going to be rewarded because you're going to feel good about what you're doing, and you're going to feel successful because when we use the talents that we've been given, we can't help but be successful. We can't help but be engaged and happy with what we do when we're living the life that we're supposed to live, and we're doing the things that we're supposed to do. You know, with my YouTube channel as in a way for me to express my faith. It is a lot of work. It's way more work than I ever imagined, but at the same time, it's incredibly rewarding. When I hear things from people, when I offer to pray for people every Sunday, I put up a short offering to pray for people, and when I get a chance to pray for people, when people say yes, I genuinely need a prayer, and I can pray for them, that's a great feeling. That's an amazing feeling for me. um, when somebody says that my ASMR video helps them sleep, that's rewarding to me, and I realize that I um, have been blessed with the talent of making people feel comfortable, and by doing so, I'm able to reach people. I'm able to maybe bring someone back to faith, or to faith that has never been there before, and that's incredibly rewarding to me. It wasn't what I initially set out to do. I initially set out to do this channel just to make people feel comfortable about when they struggle with their faith. But now I'm seeing the opportunity where I can help bring people to God. I can help bring people to the good news that God does love you, and God does accept you, and He wants you to be part of His family of believers. He wants to give you the gift of everlasting life. And if I can bring just one person to God, that's amazing. If I can bring one person back to God, that's incredibly amazing. And it's not like no one's paying me to do that. No one's saying, "Oh, you're going to get rewarded, or you're going to get, something out of it." It's the fact that I feel joy by loving God, and if I can give someone else that joy, then I am 100% for that. And that, I think, is the opportunity that God gave me to share the love that He's put in my heart with others. I absolutely love that. And it's a passion project for me to share God's good, amazing love, and the fact that He cares about us so much that He's even laid down plans for our lives, though we have to, you know, take the time to discover them. But we know that they're never going to harm us. We know their plans to make us better people. We know their plans that will make us successful. We just have to do the work to make it happen. Well, hello. Thank you so much, Mariella, for dropping in. I really appreciate it. Thanks. Um, Good morning, or I guess good afternoon. Well, hi. Let's start with that. Thanks for dropping in. Um, I appreciate it. I actually was gonna have to go here shortly, but anyway, so yeah, that particular verse in Jeremiah 29:11 has led me to a lot of thinking, and it's given me a lot of hope um, when I felt like things were really difficult for me. And it's a verse that I wish I would have had when I was younger, because I think it would have prevented me some heartache. Um, but at the same time, I think we go through certain things in life because they teach us. There's lots of verses about going through struggle and tough times and tough seasons that make us who we are. And I genuinely believe that, because I think um, most of us, when we're going through a tough time, we run to God, and we run to God very quickly and we ask for help. And those are times that um, we can really deepen our faith, is when we're in trouble, because we feel the comfort that God gives us. We feel like God is genuinely listening and God genuinely cares about us. It's just we need to keep that feeling when we're not having a bad season, when we're in a good place. And that's where sometimes um, the disconnect happens. I know for me, I went through a phase where if I was struggling, or I needed help, or I was in a bad place, I had no problem running to God. The problem was is when life was back in a good place, I wasn't spending the time thanking God. I wasn't spending the time um, praising Him for the fact that my life was going well. And I learned to do that. And it's a process. You have to grow in faith, just like we have to grow up from being a little child and thinking like a little child to growing up into being an adult and thinking like an adult. You have to grow in your faith too. Mariella says, definitely, Jesus is so close to us in these periods of trial, bring us closer to Him. Absolutely. I 100% agree with that. I know when people have struggled, like when you're going through a health crisis, when you're going through a financial crisis, when you're going through any kind of difficulty or just struggle, we definitely, if you run to God in those moments, you're definitely going to feel closer. And you're going to learn too, you know what, you learn patience, you learn um, acceptance, you learn to be grateful for the things that you do have. You know, my mom has MS, and that's a disease that doesn't go away. They can help it, they can treat it, they can um, slow the progression for some people, but it's a disease that she'll have for the rest of her life. And so she's had to go through a lot of emotions and a lot of acceptance and learn that she can't do certain things that she used to do before. And as the MS has progressed, there are certain things in her life that she's had to change. She used to drive a manual transmission or a stick shift, for those of you who didn't grow up with those. Now she can't do that because she doesn't have the feeling in her left foot, so she can't use the clutch. So she drives an automatic. And I mean, is that a major sacrifice? No, it's probably a first world problem, but she's had to learn to adapt. Um, but when she first got diagnosed with MS, it was so devastating to her and to the family that, you know, we've all had to overcome and adapt and accept that um, you know, my brother was still alive when my mom got diagnosed, and we had to accept that things were going to be different with mom. Mom was going to be tired. Mom was going to come home from work and have to take a nap before she sat down and helped us with homework, before she made dinner, before she did all the things that she used to do, before we knew what was going on. But at the same time, you know, my mom, I think, does more now for a lot of people, including me, that isn't necessarily a physical something, but I can go to my mom when I'm having a bad day, and she knows instantly the right thing to say. You know, I can call my mom and say, "Man, I just work's been terrible," or this, that, or the other thing, and my mom instantly knows the right thing to say. So she's adapted and overcome things that her physical limitations and been able to excel even more in her caregiving and her emotional support that she gives people. So I think it, you learn, you grow and you learn when you're faced with adversity, just like we grow and we learn when we become adults. She really is, Marilla. She's awesome. My mom is pretty freaking amazing. I keep meaning to get. I think my parents don't are like intimidated with me interviewing them, but I keep telling them they're gonna have to get on and let me interview them for YouTube because I think people would like to meet them. They're pretty cool people. So, and now that they're retired, they don't have time as an excuse. Actually, they're busier now than when they worked. But either way, um, but no, just I think um, it would be awesome. I keep telling them because they're really cool people. They really are. I think they both volunteer. They both do a lot of cool things that I want them to share with the world. So, um, anyway, I am gonna have to get off here shortly because Madison, my better half, is waiting for me to do stuff. But um, just kind of to sum up why Jeremiah 29:11 is so important to me. Let me read that verse one more time. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. And that is a verse that I just think is such like, um, if you were going to have like a motto for life, knowing that God has plans for you and they're not to harm you, that they are to prosper you, is like such a hopeful verse. It makes you realize that, yeah, and no one ever promised when you became a child of God that life was going to be a bed of roses. Jesus himself suffered while even before he was killed, he suffered knowing human emotions. He suffered people ridiculing him and um, money laundering in his father's place of worship. He experienced anger, he experienced sadness, he experienced all kinds of emotions. So, and he experienced people not liking him to the point of killing him while he was here. So, being a Christian it doesn't instantly make life better, but it gives you the hope and the ability to know that there is something way better after what happens here on earth. But Jeremiah 29:11 gives us hope for here and now on earth because God has plans to prosper us, to make us successful, to make us live a good life. We just have to take the time to do some self evaluation with God, to spend some time in prayer, spend some time genuinely talking to God, to realize what those plans are. And God's going to reveal them to you. He's not going to drop the banner from the sky and say you should be a teacher or you should be a police officer or you should go into law, but He's going to reveal what is going to make you successful and what's going to make you satisfied as a person. And like I said, it doesn't have to be your career. It could be a side project, it could be a passion project, but he's going to give you the ability to do something that is going to make you both successful as a person in terms of being proud of what you do. I'm not saying necessarily financially successful. I mean, I'm not going to make a ton of money for what I do in trucking, but I absolutely love what I do. And I feel like I make a difference because I'm there for people. So, and yeah, everybody would like to not have to worry about financial issues ever again. But you know, between my spouse and I, we're in a decent place where I feel like we don't have to stress every single day. We do stress about bills and we do stress like everybody else about the future. But, you know, when you're doing what you love and you have enough to put food on the table, life isn't so bad. And I feel like I'm successful. And then I have my passion project, which is my YouTube channel, that allows me to share my faith with others, that allows me to express what I want to express and help other people feel comfortable in their faith. Because I didn't have a resource like that when I was struggling with my faith. I wasn't comfortable going to anybody, and there was no internet, there was no YouTube when I was growing up. But now there is, and I want people to have a place where they can feel comfortable and they can feel safe discussing their faith and knowing that it's okay if you mess up, that God will forgive you if you genuinely ask. And I didn't know that when I was going through my struggles. So, that's why I have this passion project here. So, take the time to spend some time thinking about what you're good at, what you're talented in, what gifts that you have, and the things that make you you, and you'll realize that that's God revealing his plans for you. He's he's never going to put bad aspects of anybody or things that you've done wrong. Those aren't the plans that he has for you. He has plans for you to be successful and to enjoy what you're doing. And just because it may not be your career doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to do that in another format. My dad sings in the choir. My dad does the care team at church, and he absolutely loves it. My mom does her wildlife rescue, and she teaches other people how to do her crafts of making baskets, and she's passionate about that. She wants to help people find a way to relax. So, I think we all have things that we're good at. And, my dad wasn't doing choir and wasn't um, doing the care team when he was working. But now he has this that makes him happy and gives him satisfaction and allows him to share his love of Christ with other people. So you're going to find a way to get on the path that God laid out for you, and you're going to find a way to enjoy it, because that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to be successful and to do the things that we've been given the talents to do, and to enjoy life. Life isn't always perfect here. Life has struggle, but at the same time, God doesn't want us to walk around miserable. He never intended that. And when you find what you're supposed to be doing, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to love it. Thank you. I will tell them that. I'm so super happy that Marielle, that they do the things that they love now. It's really cool. They're busier now than when they both worked, which I actually think is a good thing. It keeps them young, but it's really cool. So I'm going to sign off here. I'm going to do another live. I might do one this afternoon. I'm not 100%. Um, but I'm going to try to do another live either today or tomorrow, because I go back to work on Monday. So in between recording some more videos, I'll try to pop on. So if anybody wants to stop by, I will post a little warning of at least an hour or two before I come on. But thank you everybody who's been here. I sincerely appreciate it. Mariella, you're been very chatty, which I appreciate. So if I don't see you guys later, have a great blessed rest of the weekend, and check out some more content coming soon. And if you have anything you want to request, ASMR, if you have a verse that you're passionate about that you'd love to see me talk about, if you have a topic for Trucking Tuesday that you're curious about, let me know. So this week's Trucking Tuesday, just to give you guys a little heads up, is going to be about dispatch, just because that's my first job when I got into trucking. And then the week after that, we're going to talk about the load planners or customer service reps. So check that out. And please like, share, and subscribe with friends. Where this channel is, I say we because it's actually Madison helps me with it a ton, so it's our channel. But we're very, very, very close to the magic 4,000 number, so super excited about that, and I sincerely appreciate everyone's help to get there. So thanks again, guys, for dropping in. I appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Take care.